I'm a co-founder of True North Social. I'm gonna give you guys kind of a quick little intro about myself while some other people are kind of finding it. Yep, that's me. That's the little studio here. I'm gonna turn this off just for a moment. Um, yeah, so there you go. You saw me. This is me again. This is my business partner. We're an agency out in Los Angeles, and I think we've got about 15 people now. We do digital marketing. My team handles website design and SEO. The rest of our teams handle social media management, Facebook ads, and photography, whatever kind of content creation we need for our clients. But that's a little bit about me. As far as our little Reddit thing here goes, I want to thank you guys all for volunteering, so we can have something to look at. I'm going to kind of go through these a little bit. I thought maybe I kind of go through this list top to bottom. I took a look at, I believe, all of these, and I think some of them we can use as a little bit more of a case study than others. Some of you guys are a little bit further along, sort of in your e-commerce journey than others. But if I can kind of give you guys an idea of how I go about uh, designing an online store, getting people to buy things, all that kind of stuff, I'm going to give you guys a very short history lesson. So I've been doing this almost 20 years. One of my very early jobs was at Guess Clothing. I come from a graphic design background, and I I worked at Guess in LA at their corporate headquarters, and at the headquarters, we actually had a physical store set up in a warehouse we could use to practice setting up a physical retail space. Now, I know online retail is different than physical retail in a lot of ways, but they do share some similarities, especially from a merchandising perspective and a how do I get people to buy things perspective, right? I worked with Guess in I want to say 2003, 2004, the early aughts, um, and I worked inside the store with the merchandising team doing graphics. Like you see window displays in a mall store and signs that show promotional things, all that kind of stuff. But working with the merchandising team, I got to understand a little bit of psychology about how people buy things in stores and how a store is set up in general. And if you look at, I'm going to click over to a bigger picture of a store. When you look at the inside of a store, this is generally the way clothing is sold. There's mannequins with a few pre-built outfits or looks set up on display, and you can kind of see behind here there's a table with a few pieces of merchandise. There's actually several of them. There's a table with like a rack on it with some handbags, and I think this table over here maybe has some shoes and some jeans. And you see this person. I'm not 100% sure if this is a customer and a salesperson or just two customers. But generally, when you walk into a store, a great store experience looks something like this, where you go in and you're immediately presented with something very obvious to buy. So you don't have to think about what to buy or wonder what this store is all about when you see it. Um, you can kind of have a look around, and if there's something in particular you like, you can just grab it, walk over to the cash register, and go up to the cash register and buy it. And higher end retail experiences, even in middle tier retail experiences, they have salespeople who will talk to you about, can I help you? And a lot of times you can ask that people like, you know, what's your new stuff? What are people buying? What's the great thing that I should take a look at? And they will direct you to something. And those are the sort of principles of merchandising that I like to then translate into e-commerce. Uh, Shortly after my stint at Guess, I went almost literally across the street in downtown LA and worked at American Apparel on their online store. This was 04, 05. So yes, I'm old. I've been doing this for a while. But we got to really think about how do we translate that in-store retail experience online. And at the time, American Apparel was opening stores like crazy. all across the U.S. and globally. But we got to think about how do we organize an online store in a similar way to let people know, um, here are some obvious top picks that you might want to buy, either for men or for women. Teas and tanks. Featuring product is generally a very good merchandising strategy for e-commerce as well as any other place you want to sell, really. But giving people something really obvious to buy and not making them guess, I think is at least as crucial to the online process as it is to the in-store process. Let's see. Can't see the screen if you're attending to share. Oh my goodness. Okay. So let me see here. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, with that. Sorry guys. It's a work in progress, but I'm glad we cut that early. So, yeah, just to kind of give you guys an idea, this is the guest store with some graphics and promotional stuff. This is sort of a bigger picture of the inside of the store, and some displays, some mannequins, kind of most of the things you're used to looking at when you go into a big chain retailer in a mall or any I would say anybody who's got their act together, has a lot of locations, is kind of set up this way where you can walk in and find things very easily. And similarly, when you look at a well-produced online store, they are utilizing these same elements of giving people something obvious to buy and presenting some promotional ideas in a lot of cases, as well as funneling people off to a deeper shopping experience. If, say, you're a woman and you want to look at women's clothes, or you're a man, or you want to look at teas and tanks, something like that. We're kind of helping you find your path. And I think of this as very similar to when you first walk into through the doors of a good physical retailer. Generally, what they have is some pre-presented, say in the case of clothing, outfits or accessories. And then if you don't find exactly what you're looking for, or oh, I need a pair of shoes. Oh, I need to look at women's tops. I'm a guy and I want some new jeans. Generally, that stuff is going to be a little bit further back in the store. And, if you want to wander back through here and dig through the racks to find stuff, you can. Nobody's stopping you. And I think of that as being similar to the navigation of an online store, where it should be broken up and categorized in such a way where if people know they want something specific, they can either kind of click through the menu, or search functionality is usually a good idea if you have, I would say, above 50, maybe 100 products. And keep in mind, like, bigger stores may have hundreds or thousands of products. So, after you get to a certain point, search becomes much more crucial if you have a real wide variety of products. Yeah, thanks for letting me know, Rick. I appreciate that. But that's just kind of my sort of general approach to designing an online store. This is what I think about at first. And when people come to me with and are interested in having me and my team design an online store or redesign an online store, this is sort of the first big steps I look at. I tend to look at when I look at this, I look at what do I want to communicate about the company? How do I want to merchandise the product? How do I create as quick a sale as I can for somebody who just comes here and looks at something? If they just immediately see what they want, and I'm sure they don't have any featured products on here, but if you can funnel somebody very quickly to finding something they like, maybe they just put it in their cart and go through checkout, you get that quick sale. I am all about that. I think that is an excellent strategy, but you have to gear this at different speeds. So if somebody comes to your site and maybe they've been there a couple of times, maybe they've already bought the immediate thing and they want to come and check some more stuff out, they can kind of get in here and see what else you have. They can click around and see what other kinds of things you offer that they might be interested in, and being able to get through your merchandise quickly and easily is also important. So with that, let's start to take a look at some of the sites in here. I'm actually going to close these up real quick before I do that. All right, so just starting from the top here, let's look at Senna Watches. Okay, so when I first come to a site, actually, I'm going to back that up. When I have done user experience testing and seen other people look at an online store, this is generally what they do. They look at the top and then they go, okay, we'll stick to intricate. Oh, those are some cool watches. We got pocket watches, some favorites. We got a few things. Okay, now is there anything I was interested in looking at? I'll scroll back up. These look kind of pretty. Maybe I'll click on here, right? But generally, websites are short attention span theater, right? Nobody is going to take a lot of time to read anything, especially in e-commerce. Generally, what they do is they look at pictures and they'll read headlines because they're so big and so short that you can read them as you're scrolling in most cases. So I try and think first and foremost about what do I want to talk about. If you look at the way this page is broken up, it's broken up into rows, or as we generally refer to them, we call them blocks. So this is one block here. This is a banner block. This would be a featured product block. This would be, I guess, a brand block, something like that. This, I guess I'd call a promotional block. A pocket watches block. This looks like a category block or a collection block, however you want to think about that. It's a collection of products. This looks like a featured product block, although it features several products. They're kind of all in one block. And these are some little messaging here in this block. Now, having said that, this is the desktop version. One thing you really want to consider, what I consider first and foremost, is what do I want the blocks on my page to be about? And maybe what order do I want them to be in? So on almost every online store, you're going to see a banner block right at the top. And I think featured products are an excellent block to have follow, if not second, maybe third, very quickly after that. I don't want to make people guess at what they should buy. I want to show a block like this very quickly. I think branding and telling people who have never been to your store before what this store is all about is pretty important, right? Like, you want to assume that people who are coming to your site don't understand what your brand is all about. Like, you do, but people who are just coming here the first time probably don't. So you want to give them the elevator pitch version of this is what this store sells and this is who it's for in general. I like to keep it that quick. But the content of the blocks in general, I like to outline these on a piece of paper, kind of like I would outline an essay I was writing. Just write a quick, 1 through 5, 7, maybe 10 block list of what I want to include on my page. I don't like going more than 10 blocks personally. I think it's just too much for a person to absorb at one time. But that's how I like to start. And the big reason to start with that is you want to think about what that content is, and then think about how it will respond between desktop and mobile. Sorry, I'm clicking on this thing. So if you're using Chrome, you can use the inspect tool. And this is popping up this little inspector off on my other screen. This little icon here will cause the site to do sort of a version of mobile. This is not exactly, it's pretty close to what you'll see on a phone, but not exactly the same thing in a lot of cases. There's some things where the scripts that are running on mobile just don't want to load for this, but you can get a pretty good idea. And you can see on, let me see here, on desktop, this banner goes side by side in terms of text is in a column on the left and a picture is on the right. And then when we go to mobile, it will stack, right? And this is pretty typical of how responsive design works. And you want to, this is a fairly good version of this, I would say, because the experience on mobile is much better tall than it is wide. I haven't checked all of these examples, but I think we'll probably see at least one where that is not the case, and you'll see like how small a banner gets when it doesn't respond. But I can also tell you from experience with our clients, I would say when I look at traffic numbers for them, between 60 and 80% of their traffic is on a mobile device. I think one or two of them we found it get up into the 90s, but generally for ecom, most of your customers are going to be on a mobile device. So you really want to pay attention to what your store looks like on a mobile device. And to that point, this featured products block, you have to swipe to see these featured products. Personally, I like it better if they're just stacked, if they're just already shown and you don't have to swipe, because not everybody is going to know that you're supposed to do that. Like, not everybody is going to see this little sliver. Different mobile devices are different widths, so you may end up getting a lot of this cut off and somebody might not ever see that. Let me go back and see. Okay, so you can see all four of these on desktop, but this is why I say you really want to check it on a mobile device, because that can get cut off. People can miss that, right? And let's see from here. So I think this is a good example. On desktop, these things are huge and they look really nice, right? These pictures of the watches are really well photographed, and the backgrounds here with the text, they look really cool. They're very well designed. I think my only complaint from a design perspective was they could be a little bit darker and separate the product from the background a little bit more, but I'll cut you a little bit of slack on this because in general, they look very nice. But when you go to a mobile device, they shrink down so small that it's going to be much harder for people to see these. Again, I would create a separate version of these for mobile, and instead of having them go 4 across, I would have them go probably 2 across and then stacked on top of each other. And that will get you a little bit more height, and it will make the images bigger overall and easier to see. If you think of this promotional banner as artwork almost always looks better bigger than it does smaller, right? When you're kind of squinting to see this stuff, it just doesn't look as impressive as it does when it's big. Here they look really cool, but on mobile, you're just not kind of getting that same gut punch and lifestyle storytelling kind of things you do on mobile. But I'm guessing this one probably. So this stacks. You can see this picture. There's a lot of text in here. I think generally people are going to skip over that rather than read it, but at least they can see pocket watches and shop now. These do stack pretty well, so I think this is arguably at least as good or maybe better of an experience on mobile, especially this one. This gets really big. I think honestly, like if I'm featuring product, I might show all of these in a full column that goes all the way across on mobile, just because it's a chance to show a few big products and make them look nice. And here's another thing to kind of think about too. If you're having your columns go in groups of 3 on desktop, or odd numbers, I should say, when you go to mobile, if they go all of a sudden to an even number, then you have a little gap there. And I mean, it's not the end of the world for sure, but I think it's something to consider. Maybe you'd want to have a 4th one of these instead of a 3rd, or maybe you would want to treat these a little bit differently. But so these are some sort of general e-commerce principles for this store in general. I would say the overall design of the store is pretty nice because there are a lot of really nice photographs on here. I have heard a lot of debate about having online stores with a white background versus a dark or a colored background. And personally, I am fine with having a colored background or something other than white. That's my opinion. Is it looks really nice in this presentation, and it looks really nice in general if you do it well. However, you want to be aware you get very intentional choices like these are clipped onto a green background, so this has been considered. But if you have to think about like, do I want to have my products have a black background or a dark colored background on my website, and then have product images with white backgrounds or versus black backgrounds or colored backgrounds, and that may vary a lot depending on your product, right? Those are some real conscious decisions. Now, I'm going to say overall, I've worked on watch stores before, and I understand a teeny bit of the watch market. These are very affordable watches at $50 a piece, as opposed to several hundred or several $1,000s a piece. Um, so at this price point, you're going to get a lot of competition from other watch sellers. I am not sure if this is a drop shipping store or not, but uh, I know there are a lot of watch drop shipping stores out there because essentially you can just buy these from whatever, or you can show them from whatever retailer and have them shipped straight from the factory. And what I see about a lot of drop shipping stores is the photography is provided by someone else. There's no original photography. So just as a note for this store, if you were to shoot photography with your own models, it will look less like a drop shipping store. And also, if I clicked on these for a second, if you fill out your social media profiles a little bit more, this one only has 2 posts. So this gives me the impression that this is a very new store. And generally, like, I have bought from stores off of Instagram and then found their product and it fell apart very quickly for whatever reason. There is a factor of trustworthiness when someone is checking out your store. So you want to make it look like this is a brand that has been around for a while and will continue to be around for a while. And that will generally make it look a lot more trustworthy. That's just, over a lot of years of experience. That's a word to the wise. So we talked about the homepage a little bit. I want to look a little bit. Catalog pages are usually pretty straightforward as long as they're organized well. I think you're kind of doing what you need to do. And again, product pages. This is all on a black background, and now I'm seeing the product shot on a black background, and it looks nice. So if this is the route you want to go, I am a-okay with this. Having this little drop shot, or I guess, what do you call this? This little highlight on here. I don't think you need it necessarily, but these are kind of conscious choices. My guess is this probably came with whatever theme this store is being used for, and hasn't been removed. But this is also another little giveaway to me, that this store is either very new or just hasn't experienced a lot of sales yet. I would do some heavy promotion or some giveaways or something just to get a few reviews onto my site. There are a few good review apps out there that will send emails to people after purchase, prompting them to follow up with a review. And you can even offer people a discount on their next purchase if they leave a review. So those are kind of my general thoughts about this store. I'm going to try and move a little bit faster on some of these, just so we can kind of get through as many as we can. I wanted to point out some e-commerce concepts on at least one of these, so you guys could kind of get an idea of like some general things that I think are going to apply to a lot of stores. So this one I think is really cool. Like this is animated and it shows a very tactile aspect of these cards. And I think this is kind of fun to see. Like, this is probably something I think anybody would do with a deck of tarot cards, or maybe any kind of cards, really. It's just sort of spread them out and play with them a little bit. So I think that's a lot of fun. This store overall, I think clicking to open a menu is a better user experience on mobile than it is on desktop. It just means I have to do one more thing before I can get around the site, and I have to do that on every single page. And personally, I would just leave this open by default. So that's something to think about. The banner here. So this tells us the name of the store, but it's not prompting us to buy anything. And you'll probably hear me say this about a few more stores. I like to focus on using the banner block to focus either on a featured product, a featured collection, or a featured sort of promotional event. And by that, I mean 10% off all t-shirts, Black Friday sale, some sort of sales event that's going on. It's either that or whatever is the easiest product on your site to sell. I would make a banner for it, because if you're going to sell a lot of those, show it up front, get people to buy that one. With this site, we don't have that. We see this, which is kind of fun and cool to watch, but I'm clicking on this. There's nothing to click on here. There's nothing to click on here. There's nothing to click on with either of these. It's not till I get down here. I can't click on this picture. I can click on this little teeny button down here. This is the first thing I can click on. And this takes me to the product, which, I mean, it's good. We go straight to the products. This, we got this big picture, which is clickable. I'm going to right click it, and I would, yeah, it looks like it goes to the same place. And then we've got the name of the product with the price. So there's the actions that I'm supposed to take on here are not super obvious yet. I've seen a bunch of different versions of a single featured product where you have a picture and then you have the title over to one side of it with the price and some sort of description on it. This looks like a description. Like these two things I think could kind of be combined into one block. But right now they're kind of not filling, neither one of them is really filling the need that you're going for. Now we get down to here, unravel the mysteries of tarot, lose the guidebook. I think this stuff could come a lot higher up on the page, right? Like this could come somewhere up around here. I'm sure there's a lot of places selling decks of tarot cards, right? So the real question is, why should I buy this one instead of somebody else's? And this, I think, is kind of giving us some hints about that. And I would like to get some clue as to, if I like tarot cards and I'm going to buy this deck of tarot cards, why should I buy this one as opposed to the millions of other ones that are out there? It does look like you have a few quotes. I would put that at least above the subscription. If not a little higher. And on every store, I don't think you're promoting all these Amex and Visa, and everybody knows they can use these. You don't really need this stuff. To me, it just makes the store look unfinished. So I would recommend getting rid of those. And, looks like you do have your social links in here, which is great. And I hope there's a few more of these in here, because if I were this store, I would do a bunch of, little videos with tarot card readings. And that is exactly what they're doing. So excellent job on that one. That's a lot of fun stuff. I might even, there's a lot of Shopify apps that will allow you to feed your Instagram feed into here. And I think that would be cool in here, just so you can see somebody giving a few tarot card readings with these decks. Now, let's see, this one, products. There's only one product to the store, which, I mean, maybe that's why it's hidden over here, and that's fine. Although I might want to look at about, because that is, in a lot of cases, the second most trafficked page on an online store. That's something I guess we should talk about. a lot of people, when they come to your store, they just want to know a little bit more about the brand in general and just feel like there's a person behind it and it's trustworthy. So they'll, whatever page they come in through, the about page is a very likely page for people to visit. So that's something to keep in mind. You see the tarot decks in here with phrases. So it looks like you got quite a few pictures in here. You had an animated thing on the homepage, and I believe Shopify will allow you to insert videos in here. So that might be fun to put in here. It looks like you've got a decent little description in here. We do a lot of SEO work over here, so you can kind of never make these too long. And if you can get a few sales under your belt, doing reviews on this kind of stuff will most likely, it will both help it rank and it will help people feel like it'll help it feel a little more trustworthy through the social proof angle. So that's about tarot cards. Let's see. Which one? Sorry, Rick, I was not glancing over at your thing here. Which one is it, if you don't mind asking? No worries. I was speaking with Bobby. Oh, okay. No problem. Sorry, I have a couple of screens going here, so I got to glance back over to the chat every once in a while. But that is fine. You guys requested the glasses. I saw glasses in here somewhere at bigbearglasses.com. I saw that was on the list, and since you're putting it in the chat, let's do that one next. Big Bear glasses. Okay, so Big Bear. Okay, so let's do a quick scroll through of this page. We got the banner up here. We got a little gap with nothing in it. I love dogs. Dogs, it's hard to go wrong with dogs. Let's see, polarized UV 400 sun lenses. We got a picture of a lady here. We don't use traditional plastic inner frames. That's acetate. Okay, that's kind of cool. Got a picture of a guy up here. Comfortable all day. Your nose will thank you. Another picture of a guy. What makes it Big Bear? Not a lot of details loading in here, but okay. And we got a big shot of the product, so at least it looks nice. Some of these, it looks like, have wooden frames with a laser engraved logo and plastic acetate frames, brushed hardware. So you got a couple of product details in here, free returns. Okay, and then we're hitting the bottom. Okay, so let's take a little bit deeper look at these. This isn't quite a video. Maybe it's a GIF that kind of jumps from a few still frames to another. I was going to say, in my opinion, it's a little jarring to see the frames jump around in this way. It's not exactly stop motion, or maybe the frames are so far apart it doesn't quite feel like stop motion yet. But you can use auto-playing video in Shopify. You might have to use a specific theme if you want that feature built into it. But we've done a bunch of different stores with auto-playing video, so you certainly can do that. I think you just need a little bit of work on this one to maybe make it a little bit smoother. And also, like, I'm seeing choppy bits of the product, but I can't really get a good look at it because it's moving around so much. And as much as I like dogs, this is not a product for dogs, and that might be a little bit confusing for somebody who just glances at this. So think about that a little bit. Shades for shelters, vintage square, sunglasses for a good cause, and then that links to a shop page. I'm gonna click through here real quick. So this is products, Big Bear glasses, sunglasses. So this is, it looks like you have another collection of apparel. So this is a specific collection. So I'm going to say because this is a specific collection, I think you could be a little bit more explicit about where somebody is going when they click this link. And whether it's a video or a still frame, just let them know, see our collection of glasses. Shop collection is a call to action I put on buttons for this type of thing pretty often. So I think you're more likely to get people to click through if they know where they're going and what they're going to get on the other side. I'm also kind of curious if we look at this on mobile, how that loads in. So yeah, thinking about the framing of this on mobile as well. If you're going to use a video, you're cutting off the ends of this if you use the same wide aspect ratio video. But I'm sure you can figure out a way to, if you wanted to use video, to shoot one vertically and use that for a phone. I think that's pretty with TikTok being such a big deal these days and Instagram stories. Shooting vertical video is not hard to produce these days. If you're not doing it yourself, I'm sure you can find somebody who can make that happen. Fix this gap. I want to see that just get cleaned up a little bit. With this guy, I love dogs. This is a really cute picture. And it's funny, I didn't read this headline first because I was just, I just glanced at the dog, right, as I was scrolling. And I think this is a very common mistake I see people make is they have a picture of a model, in this case a dog, wearing the product, and they run type straight across the model's face or their body. It makes it your picture of your product on our canine friend here. This is a model of our product, and we don't want to obscure our product by running typography over the top of it. Also, because in a lot of cases it makes the typography more difficult to read, so it makes your picture harder to look at, and it makes your message harder to absorb. So what I would do is I would either move this type around, or I would split this into image on the left, text on the right. That's a trick I use quite often. And if you do that, it looks like you have sort of a darkened layer over this image. And I assume that's there. It looks like there's some highlights on here that go to white, which would make this really difficult to read. It makes your photography look a lot more crisp and clear when you're not trying to darken it down to get type to read on top of it. So just split these apart. And then when it goes to mobile, it will stack one on top of the other. Most themes will do that automatically. But this is a really important message for people because anytime you're doing any kind of charitable work, that's really awesome. And I would want to get that message out to people. I'm just kind of curious what this flips through to. Shades for shelters. This is a really cool story. Yeah, I might include this headline and just a little bit more text on here because when people read this message, if they're interested in this message, they might, there's a pretty good chance they'll read a sentence or two about it, which will get them more likely to click through and read the full page version of this. So this is really great. I love this. Your polarized lenses. So this is a product feature. I would put this next to a picture of the glasses, maybe a close-up of the lenses, because it makes me have to think a little bit about what part of the product this applies to. And in a lot of cases, when you're highlighting product features, you want to show a specific piece of the product that product feature pertains to, just so people don't have to guess, right? You can kind of highlight it a little bit more closely. I like the lifestyle pictures, but again, you don't have to put this dark layer over them, right? They will look a little bit more crisp and clear if they're not darkened. Again, this is an environmental message. So this one, you don't have the same issues of readability because you took all the saturation out of this, but you are running it across the product, which means I'm either looking at the product or looking at the text, but they still kind of get in the way of each other a little bit. And I think there's some other you use right, there are some other environmental things that you or one other environmental thing you have a little bit further down the page. Acetate frames, right? So the fact that these are more environmentally friendly, I would pair these two things together, one right after the other on the page, so people get more of an idea that being environmentally friendly is an important thing to you. Those two things go together, so I would group them together. Yeah, I do my own photos. Yeah, yeah, that's how a lot of people start, and that's fine. Like some of the like this one is actually photographed really well, and in fact, this comfortable all day message. I think I might put these side by side. This will I will put them side by side on desktop. They're automatically going to stack on mobile. So I believe, yeah, comfortable all day. Just from a visual standpoint, I would push this typography a little bit closer to this picture. So you get the idea that these two things are going together. And sometimes if you scooch this type closer to this picture, people think that this type references this picture. And I suppose it could, right? But I think you want that to be a conscious decision one way or the other. And I would want to be a little bit more purposeful about it. Sorry, my my voice is getting a little clogged up. People will say. Let me see here. So yeah, these type of pictures in here, like I mentioned with the last store, I might either put these in an Instagram feed or create more of a gallery sort of feel to. There's something to be said for pictures that don't have type on top of them or type next to them because they give you a sense of lifestyle. For clothing and accessories, that is super important because the same type of products, sunglasses are marketed towards a lot of different people. And you want to think about like what we're saying about your store is these these sunglasses are for people in men and women who are in this certain age range who have this kind of outdoorsy lifestyle with dogs. And I live in Denver, so I'm just fine with that. It's we're definitely hitting home with that demographic. But if that is not the demographic that you're thinking of, at some point you want to think about like getting somebody to shoot people who look whatever way you want them to look. Um, if this is just your first round of photography, which I'm guessing, you shot stuff yourself and you shot, I assume this is you and maybe your wife and your dog. That's a good way to start. But the next round, you don't want to keep pictures of yourself on here forever. And as time goes on, you're going to shoot more. So just think about the lifestyle of the person that you want to shoot. Or I should say, when people come to your site and they see pictures of this kind of person uses this product, who is that person? Because you're definitely going to use Facebook ad targeting to target those people. I'm assuming you're going to run ads at some point. So that's what's going to happen when you run Facebook ads. What makes it Big Bear? I think you do need some text and call to action along with that. Black square green tinted lenses. This is cool. This is a product feature, and you're showing that close by. I would try and shove these a little bit closer to each other on desktop. For mobile, I think they'll stack. Laser engraved logo. I think this is a really good example of how this is done properly. You didn't like here. Let's say like a product feature. This pertains directly to this, and I think you want to do it this way with the rest of the stuff on this page. You got it right on this one. The other ones, I think you're not quite as close, and you want to get it a little bit closer on those. The acetate frames I mentioned is an environmental feature. You can push those together, and then right. So having environmental features grouped together, and then having product features all right next to each other, it kind of creates continuity for your brain as you're going from one group of things to the next group of things. And this is fine. let's see. So I'm going to go through, look at your collection page here a little bit. This is fine. Okay, so you got two up, right? Like you got big product here, which I think is a good way to go. I like it bigger, better than smaller. Um, I do have to really look at these to see what the difference between them is. You might want to stagger black and gray, maybe put like black and blue or black and a lighter pink, I guess, um, or wood or something like that. Just because it's those two are so close. Dark green, you might want to do a little bit of Photoshop work on some of these just to make the colors a little bit more pronounced. I know maybe in real life they're not that way, but depending on which screen you're or how your monitor resolves, a lot of times it'll push colors a little bit closer together, so it's hard to differentiate them. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Ooh, I've seen this theme before. Um, this is an interesting way to do it. So we can click on this. Where's my, I guess, okay, anywhere on here. You might want to talk to a developer and see if they can find an X button because it's a little bit hard for me to see the icon on my mouse. I just guessed and clicked on it because we're doing this. Not everybody will do that, but I have to assume that anything that people can miss, they will miss, and I don't it's easy for people to miss things if they're not familiar. Um, but I do kind of like that you have a lot of product features and lifestyle imagery mixed in here. It's funny, like these where you don't have any highlights blowing out on these. I think they just look really. I like how you shot these on wood. It's a very nice texture. And overall, I'd say the presentation of your product is looking pretty good. You do want to name your product with something that's a little bit more obvious. Think if somebody clicks through from somewhere, from like an ad or something, seeing black Big Bear sunglasses or black sunglasses or something like that. It's a better user experience. Also, if you ever want to do SEO for this page, you definitely want to be much more explicit about your product titles. That will be a big deal. Your measurements. So you got add to cart right up front and center and some shipping stuff here. Your measurements. I might want to leave these open by default. Your page is running, your pictures run down to about the same place as here. So even with all of these open, I don't know if I've ever seen measurements done with this sort of diagrammatic feature before. I think it looks really cool. And it gives people a much better idea of are these going to fit me well. And it's super useful for sunglasses. I would see if I could find a way to leave all of these open by default because I think they are real useful. And again, like if you have to click on things, then you have to rely that somebody is going to click on a thing in order to see that. And the way your page is set up, you really don't need to. I'm gonna take a look at what this looks like on mobile here. Let's see. So, okay. So it looks like it's taken a minute to load all these in, which is, again, this is an approximation of a mobile device. I'm sure it will load in immediately when I look at it on an actual phone. But and I assume on an actual phone we'll see some buttons or some dots or something here to so people know there are additional pictures. But I would double check that for sure. Like you want to have something on here that like thumbnails or arrows or something that let people know there are more pictures. Such a great user experience on desktop. You want to make sure you don't lose anything on mobile. Down here, very easy to buy. Again, like these should just be open by default. And especially on mobile, people will just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so you've got additional products down here, and you've got some more stuff in here that I'm seeing on mobile. And let me go back to desktop real quick. So, okay, I got down to here and I stopped scrolling, right? It says this looks like the end of the page, but it isn't. So push these up a little bit higher, right? Find somebody who can shorten that gap on desktop because you definitely want people to see the other products. You might also like kind of products and this additional visual information about the products. Yeah, I lost these, and you definitely don't want people to lose them. And it's just because of that gap. So, word of the wise, that's not a difficult problem to solve. And I mean, I love that you have some. I took a look at this real quickly earlier. You do have some information on your Our Story About Us page and the Shades for Shelters. I think this type of information is really huge for separating your product from your competition, right? Anytime you can give somebody a reason to buy your product rather than somebody else's product, you're that much more likely to get somebody to buy stuff. And I mean, who doesn't love dogs, right? Come on. So this is something that separates you from everybody else, and I think that's fantastic. You should use that in all your marketing. Let me see. We're running up on an hour here. So I hope that helps. Is there anybody in the chat who I haven't talked about their site yet? Okay, just thought I'd ask. You see, I think there might be one more here. Go Fire Pits. Oh yeah. So I did look at this site, and it is very good for the most part. I think there's probably cues other people maybe I've already talked about, maybe not. So I like the colors on the site. This is real obvious what this product is. People hanging around a campfire, and you've got a couple of fire pits there. Now, again, this banner, get 10% off with your first order. This is an event banner, right? It's telling you there's a shopping event or promotion. I should say this is a promotion banner. Very clear what I should do is get 10% off of whatever with my code. And I shop all is pretty broad. I would like this to go to a specific collection rather than just look at everything. I would probably feature a specific product in here and just say like get 10% off with your first order, but click to this specific product or collection. But this is better than nothing, right? They immediately show some collections of product and they look nice, right? So let me see, fire pits, fire bowls, fireplaces, parts and accessories. The only one we're not showing here are parts and accessories. And this kind of collection tends to be a mishmash of everything. So I'm okay with not necessarily featuring that. And we've got some featured product immediately after that. With a collection thing in here, I would say just because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these in here, and you got 6 products. I would not leave the overhang on here. I would either fill it in or remove something. But I'm just curious if we'll look at this on mobile in a minute. So that's great. I would like to see some information included about this brand a little bit because this product looks fairly high. Like this is a nice looking fire bowl, and these fire pits, like you can go down to Home Depot and buy a fire pit. This is much better than, or I should say, it looks much more designed than most fire pits you see at Home Depot. So I would want to see a little bit of a hint about the idea behind this company selling a particular type of fire pit that I'm guessing is probably a little bit more high end. In addition to that, as I was looking at this banner as opposed to these fire pits, this is a different type of fire pit than what they're selling on here. And I looked at the fire pits and the fire bowls. See how this has this cross hatching? I didn't see that in here. Now, maybe I'm just not looking in the right place, but it looks like you're showing a banner that is not a product that is actually sold on this site. I think this person got a stock photo and put it in here. And I would recommend against doing that, because somebody might look at this and go, oh, that's a really great fire pit. I want to click through to buy it. And then when they see, like, oh, okay, now I'm going to collections, so I have to click through another thing here. Now I'm going through, I can't find this fire pit that I like. I'm just going to leave this site, is probably what's going to happen, right? So that I would, in my opinion, is a big no-no. I would not want to do that. And honestly, get a fire pit in your backyard, invite a few friends over, crack a bottle of wine, and just set up a camera in the corner. In the corner, right? That's not a real tough thing to shoot, but you definitely want to include pictures of actual products that you're selling. Let me see, where's my inspector here? I want to look at this on mobile real quick. So this, the picture is still horizontal. So this is short, right? It's at least a little bit tall, so I don't just scroll right over it, but the picture is short, and it makes it much more likely that I'm just going to scroll right past it and never really notice this thing. I'm going to show you an example of something we worked on, and oh my god, I'm trying to remember. You know what? I'm going to skip over that. I would like to see a different picture in here that is a little bit taller and just brings this vertical spacing down on mobile devices a little bit more. And you know, the type's big enough. I might make the shop button a little bit bigger. I'm not sure what happened when you click on here. These are all the same size, but it's kind of cropped a little bit differently. I think they're all stock photos, but this is not quite even square. I would like this to be at least square, but ideally it would be tall. So that's kind of my thoughts about this on mobile. This logo is taking quite a bit of vertical real estate on mobile. I would make it a little bit smaller. But this is the other thing on desktop, man, this is a lot of space to push down your other content. I know people love their logos. They're really married to them. As a designer, I'm not married to anyone else's logo nearly as much as they are, so I'll shrink it right down, right? This is a lot of header for somebody's site. I would advise against that. Fire pits, I think this is fine. There's a little bit of product in here. It's easy to see. I can tell the name of it. Price is prominently featured. I would probably move the thumbnails under this product and make the product itself just look quite a bit bigger. Let's see anything in here. I like making the product look as big as I can in most cases. Rick, if BB Shades was yours, I think it was okay because you had 3 columns running the full width of the browser, so it allowed a lot more space for those pictures and just showed a lot more visually in general. If you're not going to do that, I would say just pull thumbnails underneath and make the space for your product photo a lot bigger in general. What I was mentioning about product titles, this is a very descriptive product title. This is certainly more SEO friendly, and gives a buyer a much clearer idea of what this product is all about. Shipping. So this is something worth noting. Displaying something about shipping prominently somewhere on your site, whether it's, if you're doing free shipping, having the banner bar say free shipping on all US orders, or putting it on your product page. As a general rule, when someone likes your product and they're going through checkout, having to get surprised about shipping at the end of the checkout process is generally the number one reason why someone will abandon the checkout process. If you're saying right here, shipping is free for all orders, and now people know, they're much more likely to add to cart if they know shipping is free. And it's kind of nice to know approximately when this will come. I don't think this is super necessary, but for certain types of products, definitely, like if you were selling Halloween stuff, you would definitely want to know this is going to get here before Halloween. If these guys are drop shipping this stuff, knowing that, hey, it may take a couple of weeks to get to you, but it's going to get to you within a certain time frame, that may solve return issues. So that's just something to think about with your product. So this one looks like it comes in a couple of different sizes. I'm a little torn between whether I would put this before size and quantity and my add to cart button versus after. I like putting these really high up on the page just to make sure they don't cut off on anybody's monitor if they have like a real wide frame. Sometimes, especially like with this super tall header, it doesn't cut off on this on my monitor, but it might start cutting off on some, and you really want to make sure that doesn't happen. This description and product details, price guarantee, shipping returns, doing this in tabs, again, I don't like it. I would rather have everything shown down below by default. Description, maybe you want to keep that right underneath the add to cart buttons, but these other product details, there's a certain point further down on the page where you can break these out of tabs, and maybe you just keep this one in this column, but then you start a new block that just has all of these product details and price guarantee, shipping returns information displayed on their own, where you don't have to click through to a tab to see them, because I just assume people aren't going to click, right? Or at least like they're more likely to see this stuff if they don't have to click. Even if it pushes these other things a little bit further down on the page, people don't seem to have a problem scrolling, right? It's not hard to get somebody to go to the end of the page. It's a lot harder to get them to click as a general rule. So I think I've had this on for about an hour. I am going to wrap up the recorded portion of this and say thank you guys very much for this part of it.